This lecture.
The next, with the continuation of the previous lecture, I am going to talk about signal, types of signal. So the last video we had about the discussion how the communication has taken place. Now we are going to detailedly discuss about the signals. So signal. So signal, it is a one kind of data. It will be transferred through the transmitter and receiver. It has so many characteristics. So let me explain the characteristics first. It has amplitude, the next frequency, then phase. This is the three requirements, or we can say it as a characteristics which will lie upon the signal, where the signal used to carry the information. Once the signal used to carry the information will change according to these characteristics or the qualities. That is called amplitude, frequency and phase. Let me take the types of signal now. We have two types of signal, analog and digital. If you want to increase the performance of analog, we have analog types. There are three types of analog signals. The first one, amplitude modulation, frequency modulation, phase modulation. If you take digital, it has many types. Then we'll go for one by one. Then first you take amplitude shift keying and frequency shift keying, phase shift keying, differential phase shift keying. These are all the basic types. We have so much of in detail types we'll see in the next lecture. So let me talk about, we take an example for analog. So if you communicate analog signal, how these characteristics are vary. Based on that, how we are measuring the signal strength and weakness when we communicate through the communication channel, so that the service provider easily can analyze why the signal is being lost without receiving by the receiver. So they can answer to the receivers, this is the reason behind why the signal has been lost, where there is a less number of towers or less number of coverage area, or it may be a remote area. So where it went down, either there is a required of amplitude or frequency or phase. Let me clarify. Take an example for the analog signal. So with respect to the time, we are going to take it. So you see analog is a continuation in nature. So normally it will be represented in the form of sinusoidal waveform. So using this waveform only, we can see the changes of the three characteristics of amplitude and frequency and phase. So let me assume that the signal started from here, right from the 0, and crossing the upper bound, and it reaches to the lower bound, and it goes keep on continuously. So if you take amplitude level, it decided the peak position of the signal. So this is going to be the amplitude. So the amplitude will decide it based on the power amplification. So how much amplifier you need, it means boosters. So if you want to communicate a signal, not only you are not required the towers, along with the towers you need lot of boosters. Boosters means stabilizers or amplifiers. It required lot of power. You need to analyze the power calculations also, how much power it is being distributed in terms of volt and current. So that all decided based on the amplitude. Suppose the amplitude value is increasing, then the peak value will increase. So accordingly, during this time, when the amplitude get changed, the frequency and phase will be remain constant. There won't be any changes in the frequency and phase. So that's why the amplitude, it is only lies on the power amplification. So that is amplitude. So based on the amplitude also we can categorize the signal quality. Either it is a weak signal or it is a strengthened signal. And let me go for the frequency. The frequency, it is going to be taken place for the entire cycle. If you take any one signal, it has two bands. This is upper band, this is lower band. So with signal, it completes the one cycle which covers upper band and lower band, that requires the one frequency range, one full cycle of frequency range. So from you can find out the bandwidth of the signal. What is bandwidth now? Upper bandwidth minus lower bandwidth, so that we can find out the bandwidth also, because bandwidth is the one which can spread the spectrum range, frequency range, and it will sustain the signal quality without loss. So easily the service provider can understand how much frequency we need to spread across. Then next it goes for phase. So when the frequencies get changed, automatically the phase get changed. So suppose the frequency requires larger bandwidth, the phase also it will require larger. So the phase is nothing when the signal it cross from upper band to lower band. This is a point. This is a point will decide the phase angle. So the phase and frequency will have a frequent changes. If there is any changes in the phase, it also have the changes in the frequency. Frequency is changing, phase also will change. That's why the phase and frequency we used to call it as a angle modulation. Angle modulation. So this is how the signal it is vary based on the three characteristics or quality of the signal. The first one amplitude, the second one frequency, and third one phase. So the three important qualities, every signal, not only the analog signal, even digital signal, even if you go for analog pulse or digital pulse, it has the three characteristics. So it's a very basic fundamental. As a communication engineering students, you must know this basic fundamental, how the signal as carrying the three qualities, how it is vary. Based on that, how we can decide the strength and weakness of the signal, where you require a narrow band, where you require a wide band, we can identify. So it's very useful for you analyzing the signals. So the next lecture we'll see in detail analog signal and we'll go for digital signal. Thank you.